Hello, dear. Hi, everyone. Elizabeth with Canine Perspective. I'm joined here by one of our clients, Julie. She is a longtime client of Canine Perspective. So I just want to say on behalf of Jesse and myself, first of all, thank you so much for your continued support here.
Well,
we really
thank you guys.
It.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, we wanted to ask you in today just to kind of talk about what brought you here, how you've been here for so long, and just kind of your journey through daycares in Chicago and Canine Perspective.
Definitely.
So let's start with the fun part. How'd you find us?
Well, I found you guys on a Google search, very scientific. But we were in a bit of a spot. Belvi is one of the dogs that we have, and he was a dog we wound up adopting just prior to the pandemic hitting. So it was getting a little challenging. He was getting a little stir crazy at home. And so we knew he needed an outlet. And we had in the past with our older dogs used a different daycare and, just thinking it was great for them. Sure, it'll work for Belvi, right? But what we learned pretty quickly was one size doesn't fit all in either the human or the dog world. And, unfortunately, the place, it was great for our other dogs, but for him, it was just too chaotic. There were too many people, too many dogs, too much noise, and just kind of a lack of structure that I think really stressed him out. And he's a dog that had some anxiety issues when we first got him, and that kind of chaos that he was going into on daycare days, instead of giving him an outlet to feel calmer and happier and, better, I think, in his own mind, it really just stressed him out. And it was getting to the point where, instead of him getting used to it, he really was getting more stressed, much more anxious. And it got to the point where I really couldn't even hand him off without him sort of acting out.
I think Jesse had mentioned that to me back very early on when we were just dating, not working with the company. But that was the thing, is the handoffs are always such a trigger for some of these dogs, which I, as a previous dog mom, had no idea was a thing. But that's so interesting.
It was a problem. And I think sometimes, I'm a victim of this, but, the place looked great.
Sure.
And, it was like, kind of eye candy for the humans. Yep. But in that doing, it was much more of a strange concentration point for the dogs, with, dogs that were just there like hanging out in kind of open, glass front, rooms that were barking at the dogs coming in, and dogs being, coming in and out that were there for, I don't know, grooming or something. Yeah. And it just seemed like it was this kind of, Grand Central Station approach. And that just doesn't work for Belvi. And he needs something, where he's going to pretty much know the person who's going to come out and get him, and he knows the drill, and he knows kind of how the handoff and the, day is going to start here, and not something that's going to be, this sense of sort of, what new stimuli are going to get thrown at me. And like, it's not just one, but it'll be like 8 different things that would kind of happen. And it would be, little things that were just annoying, like, the front office staff that would be sort of checking you in. They rarely seemed to know who one dog was versus another, because I think there were just so many clients, or, you'd land on one person who hadn't seen your dog. Sure. So, it happens, but it would just make everything take longer, so that, time where he was in that really stressful situation would, maybe be 5 minutes, maybe be 10. And I mean, that's an eternity, I think, to a dog that's already kind of ready to, bolt and just get out of there.
State.
Yeah. So
was it a confined corridor then for check-ins?
It was a fairly decent sized space, but just not with, all that was going on.
Sure.
So, it really was a case where, we needed something that was much more tailored to Belvi's unique needs. And, we knew kind of a place that was a little more intimate, a little smaller, and where he could be, maybe understood a little better, was going to work better. So, and casting around and looking for options, we found Canine Perspective and figured it's worth a shot. Let's see how this works. And it was, nothing's instantaneous with behavioral change, but and just getting them used to it. But he was much more comfortable from the get-go. I mean, I think just the environment was much more. There was a lot more structure. There was a lot more calm. The dogs were, running around and having fun, when they were doing their play groups and stuff, but it wasn't, kind of on the verge of seeming like it was out of control. The noise level was significantly less. Just everything felt, just much more, I think, relaxed for him. And I think, they feed off that. So it was a much better situation for him. And then as he got more comfortable, I really think he's kind of come out of his shell. And, I'm not going to credit you guys 100% with this, but he went from being on 3 different anxiety medications, he's down to 1.
Love that.
So I like that a lot, and I think that's good for his long-term health. And I just think it's generally been, a very, very positive experience.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. So speaking of the handoffs, because again, that's something that as someone who's not a trainer or training background, I always find so interesting. So be honest, have there been any handoff hiccups here with Belvi?
Not a single one. It's crazy.
No, come on. There had to have been
I am
one.
totally serious. There's not been a single one. I mean, honestly, the biggest issue I have, and it's always like, make sure like I'm really watching him when he's jumping out of the car, because once we turn, onto Lake now, he is so ready to get out of the car and do his thing. I mean, he's got his miles to put in on the treadmill. No, seriously, it's really been seamless. And it's even to the point where if I'm waiting, at the old location when I would wait with him sometimes, and there'd be a few dogs in front of us. I mean, it got to the point where he was very comfortable with that. And before that would have been, a situation that would have set him off potentially. And it's just never happened. I think he just knows this is his place. He loves being at home and he loves being here. He just, is very, very content. And I think that the great thing is that brings my stress level down. So he's not feeding off of me being worried about, oh God, what's going to happen today, And so it's really been, knock on wood, it's been seamless.
Well, I do love to hear that. Let's knock on all the wood. Well, that's so wonderful. I mean, obviously, both Jesse and myself take how we train our staff incredibly seriously. So it's always refreshing when clients can acknowledge that is one of the things that sets us apart from the other daycares.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for saying that, because it is a lot of hard work.
I'm sure.
To make sure that everyone is comfortable with these dogs, and especially dogs like Belvi. And I think everyone knows that my dog Luna is another. Once you're in their pack, you're in their pack forever, and they love you, and they're so sweet with you. Belvi does his little hippity hops when he sees me. Like, he is just such a sweetheart. But it's hard for a stranger, I think, sometimes, or people without dogs that maybe, to put your term, I love this, cause you that level of stress. If you've never had a dog that causes you stress, you don't realize you see this wonderfully trained, happy, engaging dog. But that dog got a slew of issues behind that cute behavior. And people do that to Luna all the time too, without realizing, like, no, please keep your distance. You are not part of her pack.
No,
like,
she's just, he's not ready for that.
So always nice to know there's somewhere for the kids like that to go.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And, I do think that's the case. I mean, it's like looking for the right school for your kid, or looking for the right, daycare. I think, for a human child, not everything's going to work. And, you have to really find the place, and it's maybe not the place with the, the brightest, shiniest whistles, and that's not what we were looking for. We just needed something that worked for him.
Something that Jesse had said to me very early on was, we have what dogs need, not what the people want. And that phrase has stuck with. It's one of like the 5 catchphrases I learned from him very early that I absolutely love, because the dogs need something completely different than what our vision of this beautiful polished daycare would be, with beautiful planter boxes outside. Oh, I tried to spruce up the old location, and Jesse was like, honey, no, we're going to take care of the dogs today. So,
I mean, this is nice though. So
this is nice. We're very happy here. It's like we got our little shooting studio. So it's working out, but then it is still exactly what the dogs need, and that was one of the reasons we bought it, is because we did have more space. The downside, obviously, being now that we're all the way across the city. So one of my questions that I did want to ask you was, is there anything we could be doing better? I have a feeling the location's going to come up.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't love coming this much further. I mean, that's not ideal, but I think we've learned a lot of different routes here, which helps. So depending on the time of day, we've got some, shortcuts. But, from my perspective, it's really a question of, I wouldn't shortchange the dog because the distance is a little more. If there was anything you could do about parking in the morning, that would be ideal, because that gets a little challenging, but it's the city, it happens. So, honestly, it's definitely a hike. I mean, we come from Ravenswood, and that's a good solid 40 minutes, on average, but, well, I can listen to a podcast and get down here, and Belvi enjoys sticking his head out the window as we're driving.
As we saw this morning in the rain when you dropped him off, he was just head out in the rain.
So, it just, takes a little extra planning, so,
Well, we really appreciate your guys' continued support. It does mean a lot to us that you guys come from that far away. So is there anything else you wanted to mention before we
I think the great thing is, both daycare is great, boarding is terrific. My husband and I both travel a lot for work. We tend to vacation when we can too, and it's such a relief knowing that he's got this great place, not just to come during the day when we're working and, get in his happy place, but to know that we're really comfortable having him here for whether it's overnight or if we're gone for a week. And, it's a tremendous load off our shoulders. So.
Awesome. Well, I am so happy to hear that, and I know Jesse is too. Julie, thank you
Great.
so much for
Absolutely.
sitting down with us. We'll go grab Belvi. And remember, Jesse and I are doing client testimonial videos for the foreseeable future. So if you guys have a story that you'd like to share with the rest of the pack, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to have a little sit down with you as well. Take care. Thank you again, Julie.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hello, dear.